There is a trash pile in the ocean. Enough plastic is thrown away each year to circulate the earth 4 times. 8 million tons of plastic bottles, bags, toys and other plastic rubbish ends up in our oceans each year. We have become overwhelmed by our waste, and as such we are now drowning in plastic. And Namibia is no exception. The Namib Desert, one of the oldest in the world and most visited tourist attraction in the country. Imagine how its magnificence would fade if care is not taken to curb waste pollution. A concerned resident elaborates.
My name's Rod Bravey. I've been a resident on the coast for many years now. I'm living in Swakopmund, and I've been concerned about the environment here for many years as well, and been involved in environmental management in various fields. But my passion is the Benguela Current and our coastline. Being a resident in Swakopmund and spending a lot of time on the beach, I've noticed that we tend to be seeing more and more plastic, especially plastic bags that get given out by supermarkets, lying around and be blown into the sea. And we have a serious problem with this because we are actually drowning ourselves in plastic. If you go to any supermarket here in Swakopmund and you purchase something in that supermarket, whether it's a box of matches or a single item, you will be given a plastic bag to take it home with. And it's not charged to you, so it's not worth anything, and generally they get tossed somewhere. Even if they get tossed in a rubbish bin with the wind conditions here, they can blow out and end up in the sea, and or in the desert, one of the two. And the biggest problem with plastic is that it's not biodegradable, and the plastic the people that promote the use of plastic are obviously trying to recycle it as much as possible and reuse it, but it's a never-ending battle, and it's very difficult to be able to control the amount of litter that's ending up all over the place in the desert and in the sea.
Alongside the beach, waste is everywhere, a sure sign of negligence. We asked a marine scientist to explain the situation.
And plastics are materials that are non-degradable. They are not biologically degradable unless you have to chemically degrade them. So the retention time of plastics in the ocean actually takes a while. They have a very long kind of retention in the ocean. Hence, they tend to float with the currents. Currents carry them over long, vast distances around the globe. In the Benguela current system of Namibia, even though our coastal towns are not too many, we don't have a lot of settlements along the coast, but we have major hotspots, areas where are inhabited. Is Ludres in the south of Namibia, and we have Walvis Bay and Swakopmund, as well as Henties Bay. These are the major towns along our coast. And if you look at the input, the contribution towards the marine plastics into the ocean via these towns, while Walvis Bay and Swakopmund are quite big, actually there's a lot of inputs, and these inputs actually are finding their way out into the ocean if they're not managed very well.
There is nothing that consumes plastic naturally. That plastic ends up somewhere in the desert or in the sea and accumulates, and it is a hazard for birds. It's a hazard for any animals in the sea. I think it's something like 90% of seabirds have got plastic in their stomachs. The plastic breaks down into small little particles, and these particles get mistaken for food, They get consumed by birds, they get consumed by fish, they get consumed by marine mammals like whether it be seals or whether it be whales or dolphins. They get consumed by sea turtles, and these animals die a terrible death.
Marine organisms, actually, like fish, mammals, and others, they're quite peculiar in trying to find out what are these plastics in the water, what is floating in the water, because they will come and pick on these plastics, thinking it's food particles, some of them. And as they pick on these plastics, the plastics accumulate in the digestive systems, and they cannot digest these plastics. Hence, they just accumulate them over time, especially birds that have gizzards. These plastics accumulate into the gizzards and until such time that the gizzards are just expanding and leading to maybe some form of deformity of the gizzards and all that, and they end up dying. These plastics, since they are not digestible, and they are free floating all over the world oceans, and they are free drifters. They're flowing with the currents, hence they tend to accumulate in areas that we call retention areas in the oceans. And retention areas are areas whereby the surface currents tend to circulate over a long period of time in one kind of location. And these areas can be spotted through satellite to kind of pick out areas with the highest concentration of plastics. And this has actually attracted a lot of studies and a lot of interest from marine scientists to pinpoint along the ocean current systems, the major current systems, to locate these retention areas where these plastics have a tendency to concentrate in high numbers.
Ask yourself what would happen if this concentration of plastics were allowed to remain in circulation. Scientists say these vast circulation areas of water containing the major surface currents of the world, also known as gears, are driven by the prevailing winds. Gears are like a huge processing machine, continuously taking in large pieces of plastic and grinding them up into smaller pieces. But it is a machine with no output, so it is gradually clogging up with plastic.
We want to do it gradually. First is to ban the importation of this type of plastics. And then we are now going to levy certain plastics. And we, of course, as a nation, we provide alternative. We provide alternative. We do have permanent carry bags that you can use. It can be those closed ones, can be the paper ones that are scientifically approved, so that you don't also contribute again to the environment problems and challenges, as long as it's approved and we scientifically determine that it will not have significant impact on the environment. But eventually what we want is that we want a plasticless environment, because the plastics, they waste so much. If we levy, of course, people will start now keeping them. First and foremost, when you buy your things, and you buy that plastic because you have to buy it. So you have to keep it, and you bring it when you come and buy next time. But what we want eventually is to completely get rid of the plastics. We start levying them, putting levy on those plastics. We want a clean environment, because plastics are just an eyesore. Right now, wherever you go, you could see that.
Now is the time to act. The Health Services Department has secured the permission from the Municipal Council of Swakopmund to engage with the Otto Errigal Environmental Trust to develop the bylaw on the control of the use of plastic bags in Swakopmund. The regulations do include the charging of a levy for the use of a plastic shopping bag, and the funds collected through these levies will be deposited into an environmental fund, which fund will be managed in terms of the municipal financial regulations and be applied to support approved environmental projects.
Protecting our environment is a huge responsibility, but every individual has a personal obligation to preserve our ecosystem as well as to educate others about its importance.
If you go and buy some meat from a shop, you often find it packed in polystyrene, wrapped with one or two or three layers of plastic already. And then you put it into a plastic bag and into another plastic bag. So you end up with one little piece of meat that you might want to cook on a fire, which has got probably about 5 layers of packaging around it. And all that packaging is just extra waste that is going to end up somewhere and kill something.
We need to protect and preserve the marine environment. All activities that occurs on land, they may find their way into the ocean if we're not managing them, or if not managing our waste very well. It will definitely reach the oceans. So the only way is to educate our communities on how to use plastics, or totally to do away with the use of plastics.
Let's therefore all work together to make the coast plastic shopping bag pollution free, and to work towards Swakopmund becoming the first environmental sustainable town in Namibia.
It should not take us much longer to realize that if we don't find ways and means to clean up our environment and change our behavior, we will end up much worse than this.